So, hello everybody. It's been a couple of weeks, it's been the school holidays, and I have tried to investigate thoroughly this next podcast, which I have done. So, busy couple of weeks, but here I am back. I did promise everybody that I'd be doing the podcast today. So the latest investigation that I've done is I wanted to ask what could be the worst case scenario in family court. So today I want to ask a difficult question. What happens when a child reports sexual abuse? The police take no further action, and the case moves into family court instead of criminal court. Most people assume the system will still fully investigate and protect the child, but the reality is more complicated. As those of you who have been through family court can verify, family courts were not designed to investigate crimes. They were designed to decide where children should live. So if you get the father putting in an application for residence, the child disclosing sexual abuse, the mother reporting it, that's a pattern. This is the worst case scenario that I'm talking about. When criminal law and family law collide, a serious gap can appear. Today, I want to explain the worst case scenario that can exist inside that gap. Not the average case, not the headline case, but the scenario the system's architecture allows. So, first of all, the disclosure. Everything begins with a child speaking. A child might say something like, "Daddy touched me, he hurt me, something happened at night." The mother reports it. She tells a school, a doctor, social services, or the police. The police may conduct what is known as an Achieving Best Evidence interview, an ABE. But sometimes the investigation reaches a decision, no further action. It's put into the NFA drawer. So the first question becomes, what does no further action actually mean? The criminal threshold. Criminal law requires proof beyond reasonable doubt. If the evidence cannot reach that threshold, prosecutors may decide not to proceed. That is if the prosecutors have actually seen the file. I know many cases where the CPS has never seen the file. So, if the evidence cannot reach that threshold, prosecutors may decide not to proceed. That does not necessarily mean abuse did not occur at all. It means the criminal standard of proof was not met. But that leads to another question. If the criminal court does not determine the issue, who does? So, family court standard. Because a lot of the time there's a family court working alongside the police, the criminal side, where, for example, a father has put in a residence application or contact application to the family court. So family courts must still decide where a child should live. But family courts use a different legal standard, the balance of probabilities. So that's 51% proven, 49% not proven. In engineering, if a bridge had a 49% chance of collapse, we would never cross it. In aviation, if an aircraft had a 49% chance of engine failure, we would never board it. But in civil law, 49% simply means not proven. So I've gone through this in my previous podcasts, some of them, but this one is a bit more deep. I investigated more deep because it has to make sense to people for things to change. So the investigative power, okay? Sorry, I literally jumped off a horse and here I am, all sweaty and smelly of horse. Luckily you can't smell me. It's not good. So the investigative power, police have investigative powers. They can seize devices, conduct forensic examinations, obtain warrants, and build criminal cases. A parent in family court does not have those powers. And people, potential abusers, know that they don't have those powers. It's very clever if you understand it. Yet family courts may still have to decide whether abuse occurred. And what happens next is the part that almost nobody outside the system talks about, probably because they just don't know, they don't understand. So the narrative pivot. If allegations cannot be proven to the legal threshold, the focus of the case can shift. Instead of asking, did abuse occur? The question may become, why is the parent making this allegation? Is the mother influencing the child? Is she resisting contact? Is she emotionally unstable? The narrative can pivot. So possible outcomes in this worst case scenario podcast is residence may be transferred. Contact may be restricted. The child may live primarily with the accused parent. This does not occur because a court endorses abuse. It occurs because the allegation was not proven within the legal framework. So the next part of my podcast is reputational inversion. At that point, another dynamic can emerge. The accused parent may speak publicly and describe themselves as falsely accused. There was a Victoria Derbyshire programme with a falsely accused parent on that programme. I think people that have been involved in this system knows which programme I'm talking about. In other cases, well-known cases, the father could do an interview in a national newspaper saying how he was called names and how it's ruined his life and, but family court proceedings are private. So the public does not see the evidence or the transcripts. So the narrative becomes simplified. The accused becomes the victim. The reporting parent becomes the problem. And even the reporting parent can end up in the national media as this terrible coaching parent. Speaking from experience. 11 national newspapers, maybe. So the reporting parent becomes a problem. The question adult children ask, so this is the children that have gone through this system, probably transferred to the person that they said abused them. Years later, some children who lived through these situations become adults and ask themselves a painful question. Why didn't I run back to my mother? The answer to that question is something many people misunderstand. Psychological survival mechanisms. Children adapt to survive the environment they live in. Attachment survival. Children attach to the person controlling their daily world. Loyalty conflict. Children reduce emotional pressure by aligning with one parent. I think that there is a word, I think it's Stockholm Syndrome. Fear and adaptation. Children avoid topics that cause conflict. Cognitive protection. Children simplify reality in order to cope. The absence of contact does not always mean the absence of love. So my closing reflection, if this worst case scenario is structurally possible, even rarely, even once, then several questions deserve discussion. Should serious abuse allegations trigger deeper independent investigation? Should criminal and family proceedings coordinate more closely? Should there be greater transparency about how these cases are resolved? We know the press are trying to get into the family courts. These are policy questions, not accusations, because systems are designed by people, and systems can be improved when we are willing to examine them honestly. And in my previous podcast, when I talk about the financial trail with a child being removed from a mother, starts a whole host of grants, access to funding from central government, care orders. So I hope this podcast has again opened your eyes even more and given you a deeper understanding of the criminal court, the police, the family court, what happens to allegations, how a parent that's making allegations doesn't have the same investigative powers of the police, for example. For example, we can't just march and go and take all the electronics, the computers, the phone. You know, if we could, then we might get a lot of evidence. So hopefully my podcasts are getting through to the right kind of people and understanding, because I know a mother is not told this when she lands in a family court or reports abuse. She's not told any of this. It's almost like the people within the system don't inform the mother. And then the things they do say to the mother's like, no, that can never happen. That's totally bonkers. But anyway, it's good to see you all again after a couple of weeks off. Well, I wasn't really off, by the way, but my next podcast is series 2 on this same kind of thing, obviously. So thank you for listening. Please press like, subscribe and share.